This is the video presentation for Group C of the Human-Centered Security coursework, a team made up of Holly Kirk and Mowbray, Dominic Bladek, Callum Boyd, and Giles Munn. In this presentation, I will be going through the app we've designed, Secure Seniors. This is an app designed to facilitate communication between older adults and trusted individuals they choose in the context of privacy and security for use on their mobile devices. I'll be talking of how it can be used to help relatives and friends with their technology security needs and how users of differing ages evaluated its ability to do this. So what is the Secure Seniors app? It is a system designed to allow those with limited technology security knowledge, often the older generations, to get support from friends or family members or other members of often the younger generations with their security needs. Older users, which we'll call supportees, are able to sign up to the Secure Seniors app and find their trusted family member or friend through the search functionality and add them as a supporter. Once this connection has been made, they can ask their trustee for help via messages, calls, or by seeing settings that their trustee has suggested might be a good fit for them. The supporters are also able to sign up to the app and find other people that they wish to help, perhaps not even members of their own family, but just to help out those who need it. They can view the supportees' settings once they've been accepted as a friend, or respond to requests made by the supportees. We'll now look at the wireframes for the design of the app, the flow of the different screens and how they interact. The app was made with the 10 usability heuristics for user interface design by Jacob Nielsen in mind, and care was taken to ensure things like internal and external consistency were considered, to provide a familiar interface to both older and younger users, so as to make their learning of this tool that much more easy. So this is the first page the user would see upon opening the app, either a login screen if they've already created a profile, or a sign-up page if they're a new user. New users are asked for their full name, so this can be displayed to the supportee, so that there's a better sense of who they're talking to rather than just an email address. It also makes it easier for an older person to search for somebody they know to add them as a trusted user. And a phone number is asked for, so friends can be added from the user's contacts if they prefer to do it that way. Once they have logged in, the user sees the main screen here where their friends are displayed, and they have buttons that link to sections where they can add new friends or see the friend requests from those that have requested to add them. So on the main support screen in the left-hand wireframe, we can see the friends we have already mentioned before. We can add new friends from the bottom at the top right, see our friend requests, and any notifications we might have towards the bottom, which would be if our supporter had suggested any settings for us or messaged us, etc. On the Add Friends screen in the middle wireframe, you can see the search bar along the top for being able to add new friends. So here we're searching for Holly, and it's brought a result from our contacts that we can add them just by pressing the button on the right-hand side of the result. And then on the friend request screen on the right-hand wireframe, we can see that we have 2 friend requests and have buttons for accepting them or rejecting them, depending on whether or not we want them to be trusted supporters. It's understandable why a supportee might want to reject a friend request from somebody they didn't know, as it could be used to try and exploit them or change their security settings to allow somebody with malicious intent to access their device or personal data. This is another reason why a full name was required on sign-up, to allow older users to easily identify whether or not they know the person adding them. So once a user clicks on one of their added friends, they're greeted with this screen, with 2 tabs for giving or getting support. On this tab, we're giving support, so we have options to chat or call the person we are supporting and suggest security settings for the apps they use. And if we move over to the support screen tab, we can see that the options are again similar in that they can call and chat the person that's supporting them, and there's also a toggle at the top to follow the person that is supporting them, so they can get updates if they change anything or make any other suggestions for security settings and take a more active role in their family security. Moving on to the chat screen, this is what a supportee or supporter would see upon choosing the chat option from the main screen that we saw. So on the top leftmost wireframe, we can see the main chat screen where users can talk and share photos and screenshots. You'll also notice the ability to edit a screenshot via a button to be able to highlight an option that you think they should be selected or point out something that they might have missed. On the right hand side, we can see the edit screenshot screen with options down at the bottom for drawing, undoing, or writing text over a screenshot to better demonstrate what the supportee should be doing. So this is the screen that a user would see if they were a supporter and selected the Suggest Settings option from the friends list. This allows them to see the apps that the person they are supporting has installed, and then if they select one of the apps that we can see here in the list on the wireframe on the left, they have the option shown in the wireframe on the right for which settings they can suggest to their supportee from the drop-down lists given. Similarly, this screen shows the suggested settings screen from the viewpoint of the person being supported, so they can see a list of their own apps in the wireframe on the left and can pick which apps they want to see their suggested settings for. And then in the wireframe on the right, we've got the settings that their supporter has recommended for that app. They also have the option to chat and call with their supporter if they're confused about what the app is suggesting, or if they want to clarify about particular settings. So in order to test the Secure Seniors app, we conducted an evaluation totaling 12 participants ranging from ages 20 to 52, who were given either a supporter role or a supportee role. These participants were each then given 2 scenarios to work through sequentially. These scenarios in particular were chosen as being perhaps likely circumstances where a person might want to use an app like Secure Seniors to get or give support. In regards to the user study procedure, based on the paper Outsourcing Security, Supporting People to Support Older Adults from the Munich University of Applied Sciences, we tried to come up with scenarios that demonstrated facilitated communication by giving both sides a medium, something the paper calls push, where the supporter is provided with a channel to push relevant information to an older adult, and pull, where the older adult should get the opportunity to actively request help. We further wanted scenarios that demonstrated supporting personal recommendations and customization, so which include what the paper defines as implicit recommendations, where supporters share their own behavior data, and explicit, where supporters can explicitly configure recommended settings for the supportee. So here we have the 2 scenarios given to those participants that were assigned the supportee role. So you can see the first scenario is about a 75-year-old needing help deciding which settings to use for their mobile banking. So they ask their grandchild, Lewis, who is often their port of call for this sort of thing, to help them using the Secure Seniors app that he suggested they install. This scenario includes needing to register an account and send a screenshot, and so is an example of a pull system. The other scenario is a 68-year-old who has recently joined the world of social media and so wants help ensuring their Facebook profile is secure. They want their son Mark, who has previously helped them set up their WhatsApp settings using the Secure Seniors app, to help them do the same with Facebook. So this would involve just logging in and checking settings recommendations. So this scenario is an example of an implicit system. This, then, is from the other perspective, the perspective of the supporter, that is, with the 2 scenarios the participants were given for that role. So there's a 21-year-old who wants to let their mum know about a security breach that recently affected WhatsApp to try and make sure she secures her phone settings, which means this is an example of a push system. And the other scenario is a 32-year-old who doesn't think their dad's Twitter profile should be public, so wants to make it private and enable 2-factor authentication if he's not already done so, making this an example of an explicit system. On to the results of the evaluation. We can see that 6 participants were given the role of being a supporter, and 6 were given the role of being a supportee. So we can see on the left here that the average time for the supportee to complete each scenario dropped quite significantly from scenario 1 to scenario 2, suggesting that the app is perhaps quite easy to get to grips with once the initial setup has been completed, something that we hope is true of older generations if they were to try and use the Secure Seniors app to attempt to secure their apps and set their security settings in the real world. The supporter average time didn't change as much as the supportee average time, and in fact went up a little in the second scenario. But given the low time to complete each task and the small difference between the two times given, this is still a promising result and demonstrates that hopefully it'd be something that would be easy to learn for both supporters and supportees, which is of course very important when considering users that aren't especially technologically inclined. Moving on to the charts on the right, we can see that all participants across both roles said the app was either very easy to use or somewhat easy to use, which mirrors the results of the average time taken to complete the scenarios. And the majority of the participants in both groups also found that they had achieved their goal by the end, with only a small percentage in one of the groups saying they didn't feel they had, which they said was due to a lack of any confirmation dialogue in the app, as we will mention in the challenges section in a moment. As for the challenges we faced during this project, we had some difficulties regarding the navigation in-app and how the app should flow from one screen to the next, and where various elements should be placed so their meaning was clear and logical. The tabs seen back in the give/get support screen also confused some users at first, as the tabs were too small and it was unclear to users which screen they were in, but by enlarging this and making the tabs clearer, this was resolved. Earlier iterations also had been more focused on distinguishing between supporter and supportee roles, and segregating the two sections more than they are in the final version. But the evaluation revealed that this actually contributed to a lack of clarity, so that was swiftly changed to be more representative of what you see now. Finally, as mentioned in the previous section, a problem was also encountered in that some participants were confused in the evaluation whether or not they'd been successful in performing specific tasks, as there are, at present, no confirmation messages. So this is obviously something that should be added if the app were to be rolled out for use by the general public, as it could otherwise lead to actions being repeated, or at worst the app not being used for thinking it doesn't work. So one of the lessons learned was how much the user studies benefited the development of the application. Many participants highlighted areas of the app they didn't like or found confusing, such as the tabs and lack of confirmation dialogues, as I've mentioned previously, that we'd not thought of when designing the app or testing it for ourselves. So this was very helpful feedback to get to improve the app even further. We also learned how important it is to increase the security of an application so that only trusted people who are added by the person wanting support are able to suggest any changes to security settings or the like, so that supporter privileges are not abused for malicious purposes, as otherwise older people could be exploited by somebody pretending to be someone they're not, and using that to change settings or gain access to or steal personal information, something that is already a problem with older users. So this has been an overview of the Senior Support app developed by Team C for the Human-Centered Security Team project, and thank you very much for watching.